the surrogacy journey is a really exciting time in people's lives, and it's becoming increasingly more common in the UK. It's important that we are aware of the legal implications and the general processes involved in surrogacy. So we thought it would be really helpful today to just have a chat about this. So Jane, it'd be really helpful if you could start by touching on what surrogacy actually is.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Bronwyn. So surrogacy is where the child is carried by a woman who intends for someone else to be the child's parents on birth. There are two different types of surrogacy, which are legal under English law. The first is commonly referred to as traditional surrogacy, which involves the surrogate using her own eggs, so she is biologically related to the child. And the second type is often referred to as host surrogacy, where the surrogate is not biologically related to the child.
That's a really good point. And it's also really important to note that in some countries, different types of surrogacy may not be legal. So it's so important to do that initial research from the outset and speak to a lawyer in the relevant country. We often work closely with various overseas lawyers just to make sure there's a fully joined up approach to our clients. It's often really helpful to have a surrogacy agreement in place too prior to embarking on the journey, just to assist in avoiding conflict or disagreement along the way and making sure that all parties' intentions are clearly reflected.
Yeah, definitely. They're not legally binding, but they're often very helpful, especially if there's some little tweaks that need to be agreed between the parents. So yes, they are very, very helpful.
And what are the legal rights of the surrogate and the intended parents?
So generally speaking, when the child is born, the surrogate mother is treated as a child's legal mother. And if the surrogate mother is married, her spouse or legal partner will, in most circumstances, also be treated as the child's legal father. If the surrogate mother is unmarried and the intended father is genetically related to the child, the intended father will be treated as a legal father. But this itself does not automatically grant the legal father parental responsibility. So as a surrogacy agreement, as we've already said, is not legally binding, the permanent transfer of legal parenthood and parental responsibility to the intended parents can only be made by way of an adoption order, or more common and preferable in surrogacy arrangements, a parental order. The intended parents will have to meet the requirements for this order they're applying for and should carefully consider this from the outset. Until the order has been made, the surrogate mother will remain the child's legal mother, regardless if the child is living with the intended parents.
Yes, and meeting the requirements is absolutely key. It's definitely important to establish this prior to the arrangement, so there's no surprises along the way. And there's various requirements in place, which include the fact that the application for parental order must be made within 6 months of the date of birth of the child, so not before. The surrogate mother and her partner, if applicable, must also give their free and unconditional agreement with full understanding of the agreement that they have given, and the agreement must also be obtained no earlier than 6 weeks after the birth of the child, so the surrogate mum can't sign anything before the child's born, which again is a really key requirement there.
Yeah, and it's also important to note that there's certain requirements for this depending on whether the surrogate is either here in the UK or abroad. If abroad, the child's immigration status will also need considering. And also another important aspect is the surrogate mother should only be paid reasonable expenses too.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting point, because the law doesn't actually define what reasonable expenses are. So it's very much open for interpretation, and it is something that the court will consider as part of the parental order. And in some circumstances, the court might fully scrutinise the reasonable expenses too, particularly if it's an international case. I mean, Jane, do you have some examples of what you deem as reasonable expenses?
Yeah, I'd definitely say any health insurance policies taken out for the surrogate mother, additional medical care, maternity clothes, products, and sometimes loss of earnings can be relevant too. So yeah, there are quite a wide range of expenses that will be looked at, but it is something to take some advice on very early on.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And then what happens when the court process is underway?
So the court is first likely to list an initial directions hearing, which is like a timetabling meeting, where they would decide what information they need to assist in the decision of whether or not to grant a parental order. This will include the intended parents preparing a witness statement setting out the details requested by the court, such as information as to how the surrogacy came about and their family background. There is usually a final hearing where the parental order is granted, and this is often treated as a lovely celebration where the baby goes to court with the parents too. So a lovely end to a journey. Yeah.
So as the legal parenthood is only transferred once the parental order is actually made, do you have any practical considerations for the interim period? I'm just conscious that there is, of course, that period of time where the surrogate mother is the legal parent, even when the child isn't necessarily living with her. So that could affect some serious aspects such as medical treatment and things like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So a comprehensive surrogacy agreement setting out the intentions of the arrangement would assist with any serious issues that may come to light, so that everyone's on the same page from the outset. In terms of other practical considerations, another matter to consider is the time intended parents spend with the surrogate mother during the pregnancy, whether they will attend any relevant appointments and the arrangements for birth. It's helpful if the birthing centre or hospital are aware of the arrangements from the outset, and particularly in advance of the birth, as different hospitals approach matters differently and some have their own protocols. Some hospital trusts will allow the surrogate and baby to be discharged separately, but this will need establishing prior to the birth.
Yeah, it's also definitely worth speaking to employers, as intended parents have the right to adoption leave and pay if they intend to apply for parental order. And a lot of people also don't realise that the surrogate mother's also entitled to maternity leave to recover. So it's definitely worth getting all the ducks in a row from the outset. And the parties may also want to put some practical and careful thought into whether the surrogate mother will have continuing contact with the child throughout their childhood and life, and the intended parents generally following the birth, and the best way to talk to the child about their identity and their origins as they grow up.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a special and important time for people. So it's also important to have a legal team and support team you can trust. As intended parents, you'll be so busy with the child once born. So you do need that support around you to make the process as stress-free as possible.
We're always happy to help. So if anyone would like an initial chat with us to find out more about the process and how we can help them, we'd be more than happy to do that. So please just get in touch.
Great, thank you.